Nepal's China-friendly government is collapsing due to protests. The Chinese Navy stocks Canadian and Australian ships near Taiwan. And the U.S. caught another Chinese spy. That and more on this week's China News Headlines. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. A Chinese doctor has been accused of attempting to smuggle cancer research from the U.S. to China. Reportedly, starting in 2022, 35-year-old Yunhai Li did research on breast cancer at the MD Anderson Cancer Center at the University of Texas on a non-immigrant research scholar visa given to him by the State Department. His research also received funding from the Department of Defense and the National Institutes of Health, which is the how manyth time the U.S. government has funded research that ended up in the hands of China. Turns out that Li also was receiving grant funding from China's National Natural Science Foundation and did research for the first affiliated hospital of Chongqing Medical University both before and even during his employment in the U.S. Needless to say, he wasn't exactly forthcoming about this conflict of interest with his American employers. According to court documents, Li's employers caught him uploading sensitive information to his personal Google Drive account and pressed him to delete the files, which he did, except that unknown to them, Li had also uploaded everything to a file hosting service on a Chinese server, which U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers discovered when they confronted him at the airport on July 9th trying to head to China. We just got to stop taking our shoes off through American airport security, and now idiots like this are trying to ruin it for the rest of us. Li was detained and charged with theft of trade secrets and tampering with a government record, which together could result in up to 11 years in prison and a fine of up to $14,000. He bonded out of jail on Monday after paying $5,100, surrendering his passport, and signing a document that said, and I quote, "I believe I have the right to process and retain this data." Yeah, I'm sure China thinks they have the right to it too. Reuters has withdrawn Xi and Putin's video talking about immortality and organ harvesting after China State TV pulled legal permission to use it. Too bad it was already on the internet. It's now there forever, boys. But how lovely to see a major mainstream news network cater to the CCP's demands. I guess I can understand why Xi Jinping would want the video to disappear, since the conversation was so cartoonishly evil that it probably embarrassed everyone involved. I really don't want to have to cover these two for that long. China's military followed Australian and Canadian warships in the Taiwan Strait and accused them of, quote-unquote, troublemaking and provocation. How can you chase someone down and accuse them of provocation? The two ships were doing a routine freedom of navigation transit through the widely recognized international waters of the Strait. China's military reportedly followed and warned the ships and even scrambled jets and naval assets. Because if it weren't for overreactions, the CCP wouldn't have any reactions at all. And after the break, trouble in Nepal, and it's not looking good for the CCP. Welcome back. The CCP-friendly Prime Minister of Nepal has resigned after days of deadly protests featuring clashes with police, storming and burning the parliament building, and this guy arriving at Nepal's Communist Party headquarters and tearing down a hammer and sickle flag. I think that's the most wholesome thing I've seen all week, and it's been a rough week. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. The media is dubbing these the Gen Z protests because many of the protesters are young people who initially revolted against a government ban on 26 social media platforms. Typical Gen Z. Take their rights, they're like, whatever. Take their social media, time to burn, mofo. But the protests quickly escalated into anger over corruption and nepotism in Nepal, where roughly 1/5 of the youth are unemployed, while the children of the political elite enjoy luxury lifestyles. As far as corruption is concerned, it doesn't help that Nepal's prime minister is widely seen as one of the most pro-China people in Nepal's government. Back in December, he signed a Belt and Road Initiative deal that the CCP hailed as a move to help Nepal become linked to trade routes. So these protests and his resignation are a big hit to the CCP. And it means that the CCP's BRI projects involving the tiny country could fall apart faster than infrastructure built by the BRI. Ottawa is considering scrapping tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, which are almost as good as Chinese infrastructure. China responded to the EV tariffs with tariffs on Canadian agricultural products and investigations into alleged dumping by Canada on the market, which, well, takes one to know one, insert Spider-Man pointing meme here. And it seems like the pressure is working. According to a Nanos Research survey from CTV News, 62% of respondents either support or somewhat support removing the tariffs Canada imposed on these EVs last year. The country's agriculture minister said the decision is under consideration, but that the CCP hasn't communicated what it exactly wants. Why, the same thing it wants every night, Pinko Kami, to try and take over the world. U.S. House lawmakers are set to make an official visit to China for the first time since 2019. I wonder what possibly could have taken so long for them to return. A lot of the details on the trip are being withheld, and some senior lawmakers didn't even know it was happening, though given their age, that could just be the dementia. But apparently, Representative Adam Smith of the Congressional Progressive Caucus is organizing the trip. He's also said that while he doesn't endorse everything the CCP does, it's like China is a big, powerful country. We're a big, powerful country. I think we need to talk about that. I guess the dude isn't aware of just how many endless rounds of talks the US and China have had so far, and how little have come out of these talks. Then again, they never talked about how they're like both big, powerful countries, so who knows, maybe that'll be what does it. Smith says he thinks these talks need to happen more frequently, and that he isn't sure yet if the delegation will even meet with Xi Jinping. It would be a clear snub if Xi made time to meet with Putin and Kim Jong-un at his recent military parade, but not an American congressional delegation. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.